way better listeners than basketball guys in the last one. So we appreciate that. If we do have some stuff with the microphones, we'll kind of work through it as we go. They tend to cut out sometimes, but we want to thank you for being here. Put that music off.
He's working on it.
Yep. All right, perfect. Again, thank you guys for being here. This is the Flyby Volume 4. So this is our 4th episode, 4th time doing this. We started it back in late August, early September. We sat down with Matt and Mary Ann. For those of you that are new, that have never been here, welcome. We're really glad you're here. Those of you that have been here for all of them, or most of them, welcome back. But it's an interesting concept, and it's not something that everybody does. This microphone is not great. So bear with us. So something that we do different here in Huxley for Ballard, we've geared it towards a lot of the Ballard sports and try to get the community involved. And you guys have showed up and shown out. And we've got some folks from even out of town, so we appreciate you folks for being here as well. We need to thank our sponsors, Hedrick Construction, R. Peterson Construction, Schmidt, Youngblade Construction, and then the Ballard Wrestling and Youth Program. So if you give these sponsors a round of applause, thank you guys for buying tickets and being here. That doesn't go without saying, the folks that bought individual tickets, thank you for being here. Without you, it wouldn't work. Without further ado, I guess I didn't do introductions. This is the play-by-play guy for the Ballard Network, the brain trust, the godfather of the network, Brock Bierman. And he's growing up right in front of our eyes, or some of you, and I think Mom's here saying yes, he is. Eventually he will move out of the house. But anyway, Brock, that's fine. But he's getting his master's degree up at Iowa State, and he's still here, and he's a busy guy. He works for Cyclone TV, he does some stuff for the iCubs. But the network basically started with Brock and a GoPro, right? Type of thing.
First live stream we ever did was a basketball game with a GoPro.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it.
So we've evolved from that to this, and we've got a production crew, and we got Dan Inkster over here. We call him the executive producer, Dan Inkster. He's behind the scenes on things, and myself, Tim Davis. I do the color commentary for. We did basketball last year, football this year, and then I got to do play-by-play for volleyball. So if you tuned into volleyball, that was an experience that I had never done. But my cohort, Megan Mudd, who calls the volleyball games, it was a ton of fun. We would possibly entertain, for you wrestling folks that are here, I don't know a lot about wrestling, unless you're talking about like turnbuckles and ladder matches and stuff like that, and I know that's not the same wrestling. So, but we would entertain if somebody is interested in possibly doing some wrestling, like calling a wrestling event. But I think we could probably figure out a way to do that. And email us, let us know, come see us afterward if you might know somebody. Because we would love for that to be the case. The case to get you, to get the matches streamed like we do with the other sports. So if that's something that anybody knows about, might be something that we could do. So, anyway, this microphone is just not working.
And real quick, for those that saw social media yesterday, unfortunately the Iowa Hawkeyes did not score any points, so Tim Davis is not in the singlet tonight. If the Iowa Hawkeyes would have won, we would have seen something interesting.
You were all lucky that the Iowa Hawkeyes did not win. I'm telling you that right now. Matt had it down here at about 60 degrees when we were here this afternoon. And so I told him, Matt, if the Hawkeyes would have won, he would have had to turn the heat up, which he has turned the heat up in here. So he said, well, I kind of want to make it feel like a wrestling group with all you people in here and get you heated up and get you sweating. So it's working that way. But anyway, Brock, we need to talk a little bit about wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess got on top of Henry Christiansen over here. And he said the boys did really well.
Went 3-0 in the triangular, I think that's the right term for that, on
triangular?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Beat Rolling Story, Woodward Granger, and Gilbert, which, I mean, being a conference foe is always great. Then they also had a tournament on Saturday, which team finished second, correct? And the girls wrestling program was also in that tournament as well, had some second place finishes individually. Are you fixing your mic?
I'm trying to.
Okay.
Batteries in
but yeah, wrestling season's basically kicking off right now, and if you look at the screen over there, that's how much money that this show has sponsored or has been able to produce to support the Ballard Network, which helps support the guys that put the show together, as well as future equipment that we've been able to purchase over the past couple of months that helps enhance and produce a better show for the live streams that we've been able to do. And a lot of this started out thanks to the Booster Club, which we want to thank our celebrity bartenders in the back, the members of the Booster Club. One of the things which, especially for the sport of wrestling, that the Booster Club has supported was installing those huddle cameras, which with those cameras we're able to set up an individual stream for each mat for the wrestling meet versus just one wide shot or one stream that's only one mat. Because before that we weren't able to do that. We were only able to do varsity only, and now we're able to do, if there's a varsity mat and a JV mat, or if there's 3 mats, we've been able to stream all of that thanks to the Booster Club. So thank you guys. And I
think I attended the girls' meet where we had 17 teams or 16 teams, 15 teams. There was a lot of wrestlers in that gym that night, and there was a lot of mats going. And so just to
and we got every second of it live streamed.
Yeah, every second of it was live streamed. So that's pretty cool to be able to access that and have that and be able to go back and watch with your athletes. So yeah, thanks again to the Booster Club. But this microphone's going to give us fits, I feel like, all night. So like I said, bear with us. We got 2, so we'll make it work. But yeah, you want to get started with the interviews?
Yeah, let's get started. First guest tonight is the activities director for Ballard Community School District, Nate Boock.
I could probably just talk too.
I got a voice that carries as well. So.
I know, Brock, I got you.
So thank you for being on the show. As always, we kind of just open it up for a little background on how you ended up getting to Ballard and your involvement in activities maybe growing up and where you went to college.
Can everybody hear me? This is not working, is it? There we go. Nate Boock, Ballard Activities Director, as they said.
I'll trade you real quick.
Grew up on the western side of the state, small town, Audubon. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, probably not. It's a dying community, but played a lot of sports there when I was there. Football, cross country, basketball, baseball, track, did them all. When you're young and you just want to do whatever you can do and be active, and that's what I try to encourage the kids today. So I kind of carry that on. From there, I went down to Northwest Missouri State in Maryville. Got an elementary ed, phys ed degree, and started teaching 4th grade right out of college down there. Great experience. Got the opportunity to be the AD there, and then realized real quick Missouri doesn't pay very well. As I know, as we got some other fellow Missouri teachers in here, they know that. So made the trip to Hampton-Dumont for 3 years, where I was the middle school dean of students, and then I was the AD as well, 7-12. And then I had a shot to come back a little closer because my wife's from Missouri, and was able to land the job at Ballard, where I'm at my 9th year, 19th overall as AD.
I mean, because, it's one thing to just fans show up to a game, and there's the game, there's the event. What is a typical day like for an athletic director? Like, what goes all into, whether it's setting up like an event or making sure buses are scheduled for teams that need to go? Like, is it ever a simple schedule every day, or is it kind of chaos?
Yeah, it's really easy. I come in at 1 every day, get a good night's sleep. No, it's a hectic job. There's a lot of turnover in the AD world. We experience a lot, so being a 19-year veteran of it, that's quite a few years. The average life is about 5 years of an AD. So we do a lot of front loading ahead of the season. Try to get everything lined up, transportation and officials and workers and all that stuff. My coaches, who I got some out here, they help a lot with some different things. Since it's wrestling tonight, Casey and Wyatt, they help coordinate bringing in mats, and they help each other. It's not just, boys that help boys, girls help girls. They help each other because it's the program, which is very beneficial. They help organize the workers as well, so that's a big plus. It's a lot of communication, a lot of organization that goes into it. I know everybody just sees the events, which I'm proud to say that, hey, teams aren't going this way, opposite routes of the road. and we're able to put on good events. We got, great kids in our community, good coaches. I don't want to say good, great coaches, and we got a really strong fan base that makes all our events really good.
Which activity or sport is probably the most stressful to put together?
It probably would be track.
Okay.
Track is because you have so many workers. Sometimes the sports that I'm not real knowledgeable. I mean, just like you, right? Everybody expects me to know all the sports. I don't know them all. Casey and Wyatt will tell you I'm very dumb when it comes to wrestling, and I'm all right to admit that. But yeah, that would probably track is probably the best, because we just have so many workers.
And over the past couple of years, you've added a couple sports. What goes through the process with I know we had a boys wrestling program, now we have a girls wrestling program, but you also added bowling. We didn't have bowling before. So what went into that thought process, or how does a sport get added to a school?
Yeah, so one of the things that I work with my superintendent, we have professional plans that we do, and one of the things I wanted to do was get more kids involved that aren't in our regular sports that we're in right now. Bowling came along because of Jaron Watson. Jaron Watson was a big bowler. He wanted to get something started at Ballard. I saw an opportunity. Didn't cost a whole lot, getting it started, and we got that going, with him helping, get that started with the board. He actually had the conversations with the board about bowling, which is great because the board wants to see kids come forward and do those things. Girls wrestling was a new sport that was added by the state, so we knew it was an opportunity that we had to take advantage of. The first year we had minimal wrestlers, we got more that were added. Anytime we get an opportunity like that, some future ones we're looking at, and I don't want to say it because it's not set in stone, but esports is a big thing coming up right now that we really want to look at. But there's an uploading cost of all the technology that's with that. But other schools are seeing a lot of success with those kind of sports coming in and getting other kids involved in your building.
Yeah, and you mentioned the involvement with Jaron and getting the bowling program started. It seems like one of the things that Ballard takes a lot of pride in is the community aspect of it, and one of the things is the athletic department or activities department works closely with the booster clubs around that, whether it's the fine arts booster club as well as the athletic booster club. What's the difference between the roles on that, and how do you collaborate with them on things?
Well, on the athletic side of it, I'll say to start with, obviously equipment's going up, the rates, the cost, officials' fees have just shot off the roof, uniform prices are crazy. But our booster club, led by the guys in the back there, Krista, Val, Russ, and Mason, they do a great job, and we've had a strong booster club. I mean, all the way back from when I started with Chad and Greg, we're on that. They're just really supportive. They want to do what's best for kids. The current officers right now, they're trying to think outside the box and come up with different ideas. We just did the trivia night a couple weeks ago that had a lot of success. Not only is it working with them and trying to get things for our kids, but it's also getting the community involved. Greg used to put on an event back in the fall comedy night, and that was always a big hit. So anything like that kind of brings the community together, which is for the goal of the kids. And then you see that strong support out in your stands because they want to see what's happening with the monies that they're raising, and it's a culmination of things that just come together, and it's kind of beautiful actually.
Yeah, and fortunately, with the help of the Booster Club, we've been able to expand on our live streaming equipment. And what have you seen from the impact that the Ballard Network has had on athletics, and then where do you see it kind of going from here, as it seems like live streaming's kind of taking over the world, as at least in the activities and athletics side of things? Well,
yeah, as you know, I was here when you were starting the Ballard Network, and our conversations, because you were covering men's basketball and you were covering football.
Yep.
And we had the conversation about, hey, what does it look like to get some equality with the rest of our sports? Now, and I agree with Tim, because Tim talked about, the knowledge of wrestling, or I would say soccer as well, is a tough one. I want to see that where we try to cover everybody equally, try to get everybody exposure, because everybody's important, right? It's not just football, it's just not basketball, it's everything. Mm-hmm. And I think with the Ballard Network, it does help give exposure to a lot of people outside of our community. I know people look at it, the live streams have changed. 2020 COVID hits, and the thing we're trying to do is we're just trying to get video out to folks, right? Because you can't get in the gyms. There was limitations, and now you start getting complaints because your announcers are not very good, or why isn't there a score on there, or why can't I see my kid better? And I'm sure you guys hear these things, and I know you guys are trying to grow and get that better, which we've seen that. Because I'm sure if you go back to the days of 2020, it was just a video, and we had somebody up there just actually running the cameras instead of, we do that a little bit now, but having huddle focus, being able to do that. So I do see that going forward. I know Mr. Deason's talked about starting a class, which is good, getting kids involved. If we can get that going and get more involvement in it, getting kids interested, taking some pride in it, I think it'll do a lot of success.
Yeah, and the other schools have already started that a little bit. Bondurant's one of them. Carroll has Tiger Vision. It'll be great to see. One of the things I wanted to ask, you've been here how many years again?
9 years.
9 years? And so you've seen a lot of success through the Ballard athletics side of things. What is your favorite part of being an athletic director?
It's really like, if you ask any of my coaches when we meet at the end of the year, it's not about wins and losses. I really don't care about that. It's the culture we create within those programs that I think leads to success. We've got great kids. We really do. The hard part of my job is being able to connect with those kids all the time. When I was dean of students, you get kids in your office all the time, so you could connect with them a lot. I always find myself in my office more than I want to, and I try to get out and connect with kids. But we got great kids that, obviously they got great parents that bring them up, and I think that's just what makes it really special here. And then we start seeing success, and it's great watching them grow and hit their goals. That's what I enjoy.
Awesome. Well, we wrap up every interview with the flyby, we do 2 truths and a lie. For those that haven't been to a previous show, Nate Boock's going to list off his 3 supposed truths, and you're going to guess which one of the 3 is a lie.
Oh, I thought they were all truths. Oh, okay. Well, we'll be all right. Okay. So I had to write these down so I don't forget. Okay, first one. I grew up on a farm where we had 72 acres of farmland, and my daily routine was taking care of the livestock for my folks. I was in a car accident that resulted in me being hospitalized for a month. Or my nephew is a YouTuber, Cole the Corn Star.
All right, so who thinks the first one?
Did you say Corn Star?
I said Corn Star. It's an agricultural.
Corn Star.
Yeah.
All right. Make sure I heard what everybody else heard.
Corn Star. Seed.
All right.
Seed. You can't say seed either, Nate. Anyway, it was Corn Star.
Okay. So who thinks the first one is the lie, which is grew up on a farm and took care of the livestock?
Show of hands.
Show of hands. All right. Who thinks it's the second one, which was in a car accident and was hospitalized for a month? And then who thinks it's has a nephew or a relative?
Had a nephew named Cole the
Corn Star, YouTuber. Which was a lie? I think I know which one's not a lie.
What's that?
I think Cole the Corn Star. I think you're
Cole the Corn Star is my nephew.
Yep.
Yeah, he's an influencer on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. And the other truth was I was in a car accident that hospitalized me. I got hit by a guy pulling a carnival trailer the year before I was supposed to start teaching. And so I taught my first year of 4th grade with a walker, which was not impressive. I did not live on a farm. No, I am not a farm guy at all.
What was the carnival? Was it a carnival ride, or was it like the?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go into more clarity.
I want to know more about this.
It was a guy. I was on a 2-lane road. It was a Sunday. I was umpiring a game, and the guy was pulling a carnival trailer, a ride.
A ride, like the tilt-a-whirl.
Yep.
Yeah.
He got to the top of the hill. He fell asleep driving, and I broke my femur, pushed my femur through the back of my hip, broke my jaw. And so I started my first years of teaching with that happening. So,
Yeah.
but the first group that came up on me was the FCCLA or FCA chapter from my school.
Oh,
I was teaching, so it's kind of cool.
so they were there for you.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you been featured on Cole's channel at all?
No, no.
What is it? What is he? What does the corn star do? What is he?
So like
Give us I just like saying that. By the way.
seed companies, he'll talk about different seed companies, and he'll go out and do videos of them. He does videos of himself. I don't know. I mean, he makes.
He
The
basically
funny
does-
thing is, he makes good
Oh
money
yeah,
doing
I'm
it,
sure
which
he
is just
does.
crazy.
It's awesome.
That's great.
He basically does his day-to-day life as a
Right.
farmer. And the only reason I say that is because my little brother watches Cole Corn Star. So,
That's awesome.
well, thanks again for taking the time to be on the show. Let's give it up for athletic directors and coaches.
Okay, well that was the two truths and a lie, as you guys just noticed. That's the fun part of this, because we get to dive in. We're gonna take just we'll give you like 2-3 minutes. If you want to get something to drink, use the restroom, go for it. And then next up, we'll have our girls and boys wrestling coaches. So we'll gather back here at about, we'll say it's 6:55. We'll get the next interview started at 6:55. Okay.
I think. I could be wrong. I believe that. Literally, it just says Corn Star Farms. It's awesome. It's hilarious.
That's why I was like, I gotta roll this. I gotta keep saying These are Bare Naked Productions.
Very good productions for Corn Star.
I think so.
So, do you want me to say that before I introduce the coaches, or do you want me to wait until after that?
Whatever. Whatever you want to do. I mean, I'm good with
All right, folks, we're going to get the next interview process going here. So if you want to find your seats, get a beverage, get some food, and find your seats here. We're going to get this thing going. Brock's going to be running this interview.
All right, we'll get started here with our next set of interviews. I want to thank Nate Boock again for taking the time to be with us. Again, thank you to our sponsors. And as we're getting ready, feel free to continue to go back and get some wings as well as some refreshments as needed. Reminder, all of the tips go towards the Ballard Network, which helps us again support everything with our live streaming equipment as well as the people that help produce these events. All right, so our next two guests on the flyby are our boys and girls varsity head coaches, Coach Casey Christiansen and Coach Wyatt Town.
Yeah, you guys are both rocks. Yep. Just, yep.
You guys want to train that mic.
You guys are sure that mic. It's a little finicky, so I'm trying to go.
Do I talk into this?
Well, so that's part of the recording, and then that mic.
Because I have a bad memory. I I'm old. I hit that stuff.
All right.
I'm old.
So, Coach Christiansen and Coach Dow, thank you again for taking the time to be on the Flyby Volume 4. Like always, we'll let you guys introduce yourselves, give you a little background on how you got to the positions you guys are in with Ballard Athletics.
Yes, hi, I'm Wyatt. I grew up in a small town called Hartley, Iowa, in northwest Iowa, near the Boock area. Was active in wrestling, football, golf, and baseball throughout college or high school. From there, went to Iowa State for 4 years. During my time at Iowa State, was hired on at Ballard by Nick Britton in 2013. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm here now. Made my way back to the Des Moines area for work, and yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing these days.
So what am I answering again here, Rob?
So, just introduce yourself, a little background of your upbringing, and then how you got to being the Ballard men's varsity wrestling coach.
All right. First, I want to thank the Booster Club, the Ballard Network, Brock. It's been cool to see you grow. Give them a round of applause. That's been pretty awesome. You know, COVID kind of kicked all this into place for you, but I can't remember if I was watching a football game that you were doing, and you use really big words, and you kind of use some fun phrases. So it's cool to see that. I think it's great that you do that for our program. I think it's kind of an expectation now. You know, I think anybody that my parents are always asking, my brothers are like, is this on the Ballard Network? So I think you've done a great job, and keep doing that. Keep doing that. With that said, just a little bit about me. I grew up in North Iowa. I just always like to share that, especially as I've gotten older, we don't get places by ourselves. We're pretty blessed to be around some great people, and I did grow up on a farm. I don't know if Nate left already. I did grow up on a farm with about 1,500 acres. We feed about 1,000 head of cattle, and it was 7 days a week chores. I just saw a tweet the other day about something that said, shouldn't we be getting paid overtime on the weekends by Dad when we're doing that? Yeah, that never happened. But yeah, I grew up on a farm, went to Riceville High School. We were state champs, and I share that only because you're really lucky in life if you get those opportunities to be a part of a program like that. And my coaches, I had four coaches. My football coach in high school was a Hall of Famer. My wrestling coach in high school was a Hall of Famer. My college coach was a Hall of Famer. And my baseball coach was a Hall of Famer. And I like to try to steal things from good people. And you don't get that very often. When you go to high school, that 3 of your coaches are Hall of Fame coaches, and you've been part of state championships. And so I try to grow that. I kind of mentioned one of my college coaches, Jim Miller. I was able to wrestle at Warburg, and been around education for, I think this is my 26th year in education, between coaching, teaching, administration, those kind of things. And then yeah, so we moved here, and I was an official for wrestling, and the boys got old enough where I basically had to decide, am I going to officiate on Saturdays, or am I going to be able to be with my boys? And the position came open, and I was lucky enough to be hired. So that's how I came to be with the Ballard program.
Awesome. One of the things that pretty much any coach has to do when they become head coach is build a program, and two of you have been able to build programs over the past couple of years, and specifically Wyatt, you've had to literally build from nothing up for this program. So for both of you, what's your experiences been with growing the wrestling program? I know Ballard has a great community, as you can see, when it comes to the sport of wrestling. I think it's definitely one of our top sports when it comes to participation numbers. And what has it been like to grow the programs over the years?
Yeah, so like when I first came to Ballard, there was, relatively no girls, very few girls wrestling. I remember when Nick Britton hired me at a Burgers Bagels in Ames, he told me about a girl on the team, and he said, she's legit. I said, all right, I have nothing to go off of. And when I got in the room, that was Rachel Waters, and she really was a pioneer for who started this whole thing in this state. And so it's pretty cool that Ballard has, I mean, arguably the best girl to come through the state of Iowa with what she's done in high school, college, and internationally. So it's really cool to see what this has turned into now, starting last year, becoming a sanctioned sport, to now this year. Just the numbers are they're just insane. Even for us, we were small last year. We're by no means big this year, but we're doubled. We've just over doubled the numbers again. The girls are having fun, so it's been good. So like the program is only going to get better. It's going to get bigger, and that's a good thing.
I tend to talk a little bit, okay, Brock? Is that all right?
Completely fine.
All right. So, building the program, first of all, I got to start with, like you said, Ballard program was really good during the early 2000s or mid 2000s there, 2010. One of the guys on the team right there, Ross Larson. But they created the culture that we've been able to continue to build on. I would say, right now, I think there's still 2 or 3 records that Ballard Wrestling holds in the state of Iowa. And I always tell kids, if you think about this, the sport of wrestling in Iowa is like the biggest thing ever. And if you think that it's been around for 100-some years and Ballard holds 2 or 3 of the biggest records, that's pretty amazing. And then there's many great wrestlers and programs that they're met. So, building it, maybe we took a little dip, and I've just been trying to be involved as much as I can to help. I gotta give credit to, we've got a few who I recognize, youth coaches. Could you guys stand up back there? I'm gonna make you stand up, is that right? That's all, yeah, thank you. I mean, it starts with our youth program. Sorry, Jim. Yep. It starts with our youth program, and then we go into middle school. We do have a split season at 6 weeks. Mike, is it me? We have 6 weeks a season, so it's pretty short for middle school. So we have a lot of kids coming to high school that are pretty raw. I like to keep things simple. I like the kids just to wrestle hard, relax, meaning I don't want them to think too much. We try to talk about it, but the program grows by people with support. We got fan support, financial support from people like Hendricks that you're up front. They've helped pay for posters. Dr. Greg's back there helped pay for posters. And then I've also been really lucky to have great coaches. I've tried to reach out as much as I can this year. We've got I think 5 coaches. A kid from Parkersburg, when I coached up there. He's living in the area and he's helping. Jonas Ovinga. We've got Cody Fisher from Woodward Grange, was a 4-time finalist. Wrestled at Iowa State. Jerome Ward wrestled at Iowa State. A couple-time state place winner from Illinois, or state champion. Cole Anderson from Forest City, who's been a godsend. He's got a really good mind and really relates well to the kids. Oh, geez, now I'm going to forget one. Skylar Oscar is going to join us here. He was a state champ for us. He's going to join us soon. Yeah, Gage Long was another wrestler for us. Was a 3-time place winner, and he does really well. Local guy, kind of quiet. We try to put those guys in charge. So you're asking about building the program. It's not about one person. It's really about all the people you can get involved to try to help them and relate to kids to make them better so their experience is good.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of great names through Ballard history and the wrestling program, and you also mentioned how great the state is for wrestling. No matter what people say, the state tournament for wrestling will always be the greatest postseason event in the state of Iowa for high school athletics. And what does it mean to you guys being coaches in arguably the best state for high school wrestling?
I mean, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I can't imagine any other place compares to it. I'll just comment on the girls' state tournament a little bit. If you haven't been there, it's one class. It's 32 girl brackets. It's 2 days. I think they'll have to go to two classes, but right now, if you can have a chance to get to that state tournament, it's a madhouse. They don't have the seating for it, so if you get into that building, you got people on top of each other. It's a spectacle. It's like I said, it is a madhouse being in there. So I mean, there already to me is the best state tournament for girls there is in the whole nation.
From the boys' side, I feel proud to be a part of wrestling. I guess growing up, like I said, on a farm in Iowa, and our school was always kind of known for wrestling as well, but it was just kind of ingrained in you, kind of like the hard work in the Midwest. And I think that's what I was recognized for. Iowa wrestling, Iowa State wrestling, UNI, you could put on the line, a lot of smaller schools. Better throw in Grandview, right, Nick? 10 national championships, 11 now. So, yeah, but he's not counting right now. No, but I mean, it's just a tradition, and everybody in the room here that's been a part of wrestling in some way, whether it's a coach, as a wrestler. I mean, you hear people tell stories. I could be in an airport and talking to somebody they're like, oh, I wrestled once in 7th grade, and oh my gosh, that's the hardest sport ever. And just recently, the Kelsey brothers, you watched that? Jason Kelsey just said, it's the hardest sport that I've ever been a part of, and he's up there talking about it, but it just makes you proud to be just a part of the tradition of Iowa wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. And so Wyatt, next question for you. Second season of girls wrestling being sanctioned in the state of Iowa. What is the difference between year one, where you're kind of like starting from scratch a little bit, to year 2, where it's like, okay, do you have a better idea of what's going on, or is it still kind of controlled chaos a little bit?
Since I see none of the girls are here tonight, I'll say we've had more tears this year already. No. It's been good. We got more numbers, so it's been definitely controlled chaos. We're really green. The girls are picking up on it quick. We're keeping it basic. The fundamentals are there. They're doing really well. They're only getting better. I don't really care about what happens between December and, I guess, all the way up until the last weekend of January, because the only thing that matters right now, and I preach to them, is us showing up in that last weekend of January. That's what matters, and that's when we get super regionals, and they understand that. Right now, as everything is learning, I've explained to them, in my years of coaching here with the boys and stuff, anything can happen. We've had kids make state with losing records or 500 records. It doesn't matter. So getting that instilled in their minds, and just to work hard and score points, have fun, listen, work hard.
Yeah, and then Casey, you had a special experience as a head coach. You've been able to coach your sons. What is that like? Is wrestling lead to the dinner table? Is there wrestling talk a lot during dinner time, or what's the experience been like being able to coach your sons?
Okay. Sean, has wrestling ever come up at the dinner table? Never. Okay. No. It's been really. I just feel blessed. I mean, that's the biggest word I've got. Blessed is because how often you get this opportunity. It can also be a challenge a little bit. So as the boys get older, I don't know if you know, teenagers get bullheaded a little bit, whether it's boys or girls. But I try to just be dad when I'm home as much as I can. If they want to talk wrestling, I'll talk wrestling with them. But if they don't, then go play your video games or do your homework or do whatever. Try not to push them too hard. But I would say that it really is a blessing. And I know, like last year, I was an official for a long time. A lot of the officials came up to me and just said afterwards, how did you feel when Gabe won it and you were in the corner? And it's just surreal. It's just a surreal feeling. And you just, like I said, blessed is the word that keeps coming to my mind, that you have those opportunities, that you can be there. I think the biggest thing I always tell them, I don't care if you win or lose, but we'll love you the same no matter what. Win or losing, your love doesn't change. Now as a coach, I might get on you a little bit, but as a parent, we love you no matter what. So.
That's amazing. When it comes to sport wrestling, I think it's a little interesting because it's a little different than basketball, football, where it's like pretty much just a team sport. where you got also individual records that come into play postseason wise, as well as the team aspect still matters. So how do you guys manage your roster? Like, what's the strategies that go into place when it comes to tournaments or duels or depending on the matchups as well?
Yeah, so in regards to the girls, like I said, we're not big by any means. I think we are filled all the way from 105 to 45 right now or something like that. So we are fortunate right now. We can spread out for them for those weight classes. There's a little bit of movement around and understanding where weights go, and if you want to get here, so then you got the option to have your 2 pounds after December 12th at that weight. But for the most part, they're fortunate that they get to focus on wrestling right now. So I don't have much with as far as the fluctuation of anything in our lineups at this point.
Okay.
So for our lineups, basically, Cole Anderson, one of our assistant coaches, he just purchased a board, a traditional board in the wrestling room that each weight class you can have your depth chart. And we just put that up there the other day, and I want to thank him for that. But typically we have, how many deep you are, and we do 3 wrestle-offs a year, and if you win it, you basically have a month of the season where it's your weight. And so we do that at the varsity level. That's for tournaments, and I always try to preach team, even though wrestling really is an individual sport, it's really a team sport. And in the dual meets especially, I tell them it's your weight, however, whatever is best for the team and the matchups. So you ask about what goes into it, a lot. I try to sit back and do those things and let my assistant coaches do all the coaching as much as I can, because I'm trying to look at matchups and trying to figure out, okay, what's the best matchup for this kid to win, and can he get a pin here? So in wrestling, I get 3 points for a decision, 4 points for a major, 5 points for attack, and 6 for a pin. And if we can pin somebody and stay off our back here, and it's a close duel here, I'm always looking at those lineups. So if we have a lineup that was just hammer upon hammer upon hammer upon hammer, then you don't have to worry about moving them. We have always some youth in there, so we're going to kind of give them, okay, what's a good match for this kid? Okay, he's maybe struggling a little bit, let's get him a good match against somebody that's maybe a little bit weaker. So I try to do that as much as I can. JV, we line them up for JV just as much as we can. They're basically equal. But varsity, there's a lot that goes into it, so we can win as a team. And hopefully, the kids do buy into that. I believe that because of that, we've had some good dual meet seasons. And this year, probably shouldn't say this, but we just wrestled Mount Vernon the other day in a tournament. And it was kind of, as they look at individual matches, they're ranked second in the state. And if we wrestled them, if you took those matches head to head, we would have lost by 2 points, but we had one kid that blew his match, and if he would have won that, we win the duel. So it's those kind of things that go through a coach's head all the time. So yeah, it's always just kind of each dual meet decision.
Awesome. Final main question is revolving around the Bellward Network. What has it meant to you guys as a program or programs? And then as the sport continues to grow, both especially on the girls' side, what can we do to help enhance and get your guys' name out there more?
As far as for the girls, I think you guys have done a great job for just getting us out there, and I think for the future, just more exposure. That's it's pretty simple to me as far as the girls wrestling goes, because it's so new.
I try to share as much of that stuff that you put out on Facebook, or I'm a Twitter guy, so we try to share as much as we can on Twitter. I suppose there's Instagram, I don't do much of that, but we try to share that as much as we can, so to support you. Obviously hosting all our home meets, we appreciate that. I heard Nate say something about there's always new ideas and what can we do to better it. Having scoreboards on there, I don't know if we do that for wrestling or not, but that would be great. Yeah, I think that would just add to the fan. So if you're the average fan at home, you know what the score is, because sometimes you can see the scoreboard, sometimes you can't. But I just appreciate what you do for all our sports, but for wrestling it's great, this kind of thing. And you can always interview our wrestlers. Sometimes you're always welcome to come grab our wrestlers and talk to them and do something as well. We're more than happy to have that.
We'll definitely keep that in mind for sure. As we wrap up here, I'm assuming you both have 2 truths and a lie prepared?
Yep.
All right, we'll let you go first, Wyatt.
Okay. I've never been outside of the country. I wrestled in college, and I have a cat.
All right, who thinks it's never been outside the country? Show of hands. All right, who thinks it's wrestled in college? And who thinks it's have a cat? All right, which one's the lie?
I do have a cat.
I knew that. I knew that. I knew you had that.
I did not wrestle in college. I think I had my eyes set on other activities at that point. So.
No, don't ask.
All right. I was teammates with Nick Mitchell. I was born with 6 toes, and I caught a 44-inch northern.
All right. Sorry, the one of them caught me off guard. Teammate with Coach Nick Mitchell. One person thinks that's the lie. All right. Born with 6 toes. And then what was the specifics on this?
Caught a 44-inch northern.
44-inch northern. All right. Which one's the lie?
The lie is that I was born with 6 toes.
Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time to be a part of the flyby. As always, Fellow Network appreciates your guys' support, and we'll continue to support you guys' seasons as they progress. And good luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take another 5-minute break for you guys if you want to get up, get some more drinks or get some wings, and then we'll have our final guests.
I worked over there the whole time. So I'll step out for
All right, folks. You want to make sure you get your drinks and find your spots here. We'll get this last interview on the ready to rock and roll here. Again, just a tidbit. Brock and I were talking up here just in the little intermission, and I think this is the biggest crowd we've had at the flyby. So that's kudos to you guys for showing up, but it's also kudos to the wrestling, I guess family is what you would want to call it. And I think that Coach Christiansen and Coach Townley, Wyatt and Casey both touched on it. That I'm from South Dakota originally, and there's good wrestling up there, right? I mean, there's some guys that have come down to Iowa and wrestled. I think Lincoln McElravy and things like that. As I look away, I haven't even introduced him. He's already causing a scene. See, this is what Coach Miller was talking about. But anyway, but it's pretty neat to see it, and you're right about the state tournament and everything. So again, kudos to you guys, and thanks to our sponsors, to Henry Construction, to Schmidt Youngblood, R. Peterson, and then the Ballard Youth Wrestling guys. We appreciate being here, especially you Ballard Youth guys. Obviously, you're the lifeblood of the program. Anywhere you go, any town you go to, any place, whether it's big or small, it's the youth programs that if people are engaged and they're willing to take the time, they can build the programs. And we've seen that here with the wrestling stuff, and it continues to grow. So hats off to you guys. But with that, without further ado, some would say he would be the man, the myth, the legend. He's an incredible wrestling coach and a very below average golfer. This I know for a fact. And I'm by no means a good golfer, but I'm way better than Nick. But we're not doing takedowns for $1 later. I know that's not going to happen. But anyway, big round of applause for Grandview Head Wrestling Coach Nick Mitchell.
Appreciate it. All right, I got a couple things. So just some comments I picked up from the beginning of this so far. So first of all, I don't think I've met Coach Town before, but I want to hear about some of these things you were interested in college when you were at Iowa State.
Other activities. I believe it was other activities.
Okay. I had a feeling. So right. You would have been in the Northeast Iowa region. We could have hung out in college a couple times. What else did I know? Okay, so Casey Christiansen, you guys heard, we actually wrestled together in college. He was 2 years older than me, way older. He said his lie was that he had 6 toes, and I thought for sure that was probably real, because if you ever watched him wrestle, like super, like really awkward, really goofy, and 6 toes would have made perfect sense. And then he said he's a big Twitter guy, and I saw the young guys laughing at him for saying he's a Twitter guy, because that's like being on Facebook now. So, then he actually said, when I got here, he said he found some pictures of us from college, like celebrating after we won the national championship. And then I got nervous because I don't know what those pictures are of, so it's not good for Casey. The last thing I heard, athletic director, I don't think we met either, but he said he's not a wrestling guy, and he's in Huxley. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't say things like that out loud. You gotta make it home. So absolutely a wrestling guy. Now I can tell he's a big wrestling guy. No, I appreciate you guys having me here. It's my first time here. We came early, ate the burger. It was freaking awesome, and you guys should win like an award for that or something, man. It was really good.
Yeah, they did. Nick, they did. The foundation burger. The whole table had the foundation burger. All right. So tell us about you, Nick. I mean, we're going to be able to probably read it up here on the screen. I think Nick's got some slides and we got some things. We had to make it really small print because you're just. But tell us, kind of where you're from. Obviously, we know that you went to Wartburg, but give us a little, the 35-second background check on. We're not running a real background check, so you're fine. Okay. So give us just a little synopsis here.
Yeah, just run down. I grew up in the Des Moines area. Went to high school in Johnston. Went to Wartburg College. Wrestled there. I was an assistant coach at Wartburg for 8 years. So really, like Casey said, wrestled for a legendary coach. He was a 10-time national championship coach, and so not only did I get to wrestle for him for 4 years, but I coached under him for another 8 years. And so you think in terms of what you get from a good coach. You know, just one cycle usually is 4 years, and I got 3 cycles with one of the best coaches in wrestling history as far as I'm concerned. And so had a huge impact on me, and obviously has a huge imprint on what we do at Grandview. And just real fortunate to have been part of that program for such a long time. And then 2008, Grandview started wrestling. 2008, 2009 year was the very first year of the program. So it's crazy. This is our 16th year. It feels like we just got it started, but we're not a young program anymore. But I've been there, started the program. So just like Coach starting the girls program here, I know what that's like, man, and it's hard, but don't get discouraged because there's better times ahead. I'm telling you. But it's tough, man. But really fortunate that I've had some good people around me. And even in this room, you know, I'm not surprised that this is the best turnout you've had, because that's what wrestling is, man. I mean, it's a big family. You know, I can guarantee we could go through here and each one of us have some kind of connection. You know somebody who knows somebody. And that's not just in Iowa especially, but throughout the country. Obviously, we mentioned Ross Larson earlier. Tried to recruit Ross in high school, but turned out to be a superstar, so just missed on him. But coached with us for a few years and had a big impact on our program. Helped us coach a 4-time national champion in Evan Hansen. Barrett Hoppenworth's back there. Got to coach Barrett in college for a while. Dude was super tough. So just cool connections, you know, just in this room alone. But man, it's cool to see like what wrestling does, because this is not unique for our sport, honestly.
Well, Nick, it's awesome that you brought up Coach Miller, because I reached out to Coach earlier in the week, and I thought, man, that'd be really neat if we could get him down here and you guys could kind of talk shop. Late notice, he's running the Gable Museum, or the Hall of Fame up there in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, Waterloo. But I sent him an email, and Coach was gracious enough to email me back. This is Jim Miller, and it's really small print, and this is me showing my age now because it's dark in here and it's going to be hard for me to read, but I'll try. It says, "Hey Tim, I probably won't be able to make it, but for some laughs, you could ask Coach Mitchell, how in the world did he get 4th in the JV conference tournament his freshman year at Wartburg, then finished 3rd in the NCAA's his sophomore year?" So he was 4th in JV in the conference? That's right? Okay. And I personally think, and this is like a wrestling thing, and this is not a wrestling thing, but this is a cool thing, because Nick probably knows where this is going, but you were the JV guy, and you got 4th in conference, in junior varsity.
JV conference.
JV conference. Okay. That's not very good, Nick. Let's just I'll be completely honest. That's pretty crappy. Anyway, it's better than me, but I'm not arrested. Coach goes on to say, "I personally think that he quit worrying about his girlfriends. Yes, multiple." That's what it says right here. So, sorry, Sean. And started figuring out that although he was 3rd string his freshman year, the 1st string athletes won the NCAA championships and graduated, and the 2nd string athlete transferred. Whether he wanted to be or not, he was the starter, as I did not recruit any other athletes to come in at Nick's weight. Trust me, it wasn't for a lack of effort on my part. So Coach was out there recruiting, but he couldn't find anybody. So we were stuck with this Nick Mitchell guy who was 4th in the JV conference. Funny how much better Nick became when he decided I might as well be good too. Seriously, Nick became a 3-time All-American, a captain, and an outstanding assistant coach for me for 7 years before turning the NAI wrestling world into a Grandview party. Coach says, so very proud of him, one of the best coaches in the country at any level, and his assistant, Paul Reedy, I played golf with Reedy, I think, and all that his program stands for. So amazing. Coach says it's probably too much, but thanks for reaching out. So, Coach Miller obviously still thinks a ton of you. But the thing that is in there is you decided that you wanted to be good, right? I mean, and maybe you didn't even realize it, but Coach probably saw it, but explain that to me. Explain that to us. And so you went from 4th in the JV conference, you were a dirtball. Like, let's just say it. You were bad. Like, I mean, you weren't very good, and Coach was trying to recruit his butt off, trying to find somebody. But you decided, you know what? The hell with it. I'm gonna be the dude.
Yeah.
Explain that to us.
Yeah, and as soon as you said that he sent an email, I assume that's probably what the story was, because I've heard it a few hundred times. But yeah, man, really, it came down to this for me. You know, every program talks about the culture. They talk about what it takes to be successful at a high level. And I was part of a program starting that freshman year that had been successful and had a great team culture and had a great coach. But clearly I wasn't bought in. And yeah, it's funny the things that you remember. And yeah, I had this day, and not many people have a day that they can point to that can say, like, my life changed this day for sure. But early on, my sophomore year, after I survived that really impressive freshman year, I remember sitting in practice early on. The coach was talking to the team, and you know, he had a really good way of making simple things seem profound. And he was telling us, man, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, every day we have things that we know we need to do that we don't feel like doing, but regardless of how you feel, you just do it anyway. And like, I heard it that day. And trust me, he had said it multiple times before, but that day I was paying attention, and it sunk in. And it was crazy because I can remember now looking back, like, so that same year I lived off campus, and I can remember this so vividly, like sitting in my living room. I had this old hand-me-down brown couch in our living room, and sitting there. It's 9:30 in the morning, and that was supposed to be when I got my extra workout in. And I remember thinking, like, man, I don't feel like doing this. And immediately, because I heard the message, the feeling of not wanting to do something became my motivation to do it. Everything flipped on its head. Because I knew, I was like aware of it. It just like something went off. Okay, I don't feel like doing it. I'm gonna go do it. And I haven't looked back on that since. And it's been something I try to pass along to my athletes. And you know, really what it comes down to is stop paying attention to your feelings and pay attention to what you know you're supposed to do. And man, is that a simple message? 100%. But it's not easy to do. It's hard. But that was a game changer for me, and it's been a game changer ever since. And yeah, man. So that's the difference between, hey, you want to take a jump, you want to go from maybe being 4th in the JV conference to being 3rd in the country. Stop doing what you feel like doing and do what you're supposed to do.
That was the answer I was hoping you were going to give, because you've probably given it, and that's awesome. And it, again, you said, Coach, takes things, makes them simple things, makes them complex, but once you break it down. So it goes into the next question, and you had access to these, but what has been the key to success at Grandview Wrestling? Because, I mean, you started it, it was like your little baby, and it's grown and grown and grown, and now you're still kicking ass, right? I mean, and so what is that? Talk about culture, but you had a great mentor, obviously, in Coach Miller. Your mindset was obviously something that had changed as a 19-year-old guy, but with Grandview Wrestling, how? Why?
Yeah.
What the hell, man? I mean,
Right.
This is a big deal. You guys are pretty good.
Yeah, so
you're not 4th in the JV conference.
No, turned out to be ever again.
Yeah.
It was fun. You know, when I started the program at Grandview, they had never won a national championship in any sport, individually or as a team. And so now, like in today's day, you're like, well, that doesn't even sound right. I mean, every sport is successful at Grandview. We've won multiple team championships. There's been multiple individual champions. And so, but that really wasn't the way it was when I first got there. And it wasn't like anything was off. I mean, Troy Plummer was our athletic director. He was pretty new in his career also. But it was just maybe an expectation level for some people. And so I came from a program where that was the expectation. And going into it, I just decided, like, I knew what the vision was going to be for the program. I knew what I wanted to have happen. And so the very first year of the program, we had an individual champ. And I think that was kind of like the first thing for within our program, because guys could see, like, hey, this can happen here, right? Like, this isn't this thing you put up on a pedestal that's untouchable. here's a guy that I compete with, I train with every day. He got the job done, so I know I can do that too. And so there was that part, and then of course there's, I think of our program as, you think of a machine that's got a bunch of cogs. You start with one, and it's hard. You got to turn it on your own, and then you add some cogs to the machine, and then it gets a little bit easier. So we have our administrative support, and then we've got our boosters, and we've got our fans, and now we have a good alumni base. I've got a bunch of really good assistant coaches. Paul Reedy, who's been with me since the 3rd year of the program. Grant Henderson, who runs our Viking Wrestling Club. Those guys are both full-time. So we've got those guys that, have made a huge impact. They're just more cogs to the program. And you keep adding it, and pretty soon it runs on its own. But the biggest thing that really came down to was getting our guys to buy into a culture again. And so for us, it really came down to, and I'll keep this quick, but it was this, like, we talk all the time about, you can't compartmentalize who you are. You need to compartmentalize where you are, but you can never compartmentalize who you are. Meaning, like, when I'm at school, I gotta be at school. When I'm at practice, I need to be at practice. But who I am, I can't be, when I'm at practice, I'm the hardest working guy on the team. But when I'm in school, now I'm just gonna do enough to get by. Right? It's about being the same guy all the time. You gotta practice being the same guy all the time. And so it was your academic life, your social life, your family life, your faith life. If you're a hard worker, it's one or the other. You're either a hard worker or you're lazy. You're either alive or dead. It's neither one. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't be one or the other. And so, like, helping these guys understand that if you buy into that part, it's going to help you be better at wrestling, which was usually the main carrot for those guys. And then what they found out eventually was, win or lose, that's the thing that's going to stick with them the rest of their lives. That's the thing that now these guys are done, that they talk about, that are successful in their careers, that have families that they look back on, and the titles are great, but those are the things that they can really hang their hat on. So that was the lesson, and that's been the message, and it always will be the message. And if any of you have ever been around anything Grandview, we talk about that all the time, and we're going to keep talking about it, because that really is the secret.
Absolutely. So to touch on that, to sprinkle a little love on, you had Ben Lee, right?
Yeah.
Ballard guy.
Yep.
Pretty successful.
For sure.
Would you say that he kind of fit that mold, what you just kind of described?
Yeah. And if you guys know Ben in high school, Ben finished I think 3rd or 4th his senior year. He was pretty good high school wrestler, but not like a guy that you're like, oh man, this guy's just gonna light it up at the college level. And his first couple of years, he did not light it up. Ross probably worked out with Ben a few times, and Ben would have been a 4th in the JV conference type of guy. I mean, he took some lumps, man. And I remember, the first year that he actually finally broke through and made our lineup, even that year, I wasn't sure, because I'd seen what had happened in the past. And I was like, I don't know, man. Ben Lee, I don't know if he can do it. And he just kept proving it, and he ended up finishing 3rd in the nation that year. But here's the thing, when we talk about championship lifestyle, I don't know if we've had a guy that was more bought in to living a championship lifestyle than Ben Lee. I mean, I'm 45 now, and I'm 100% sure that guy is more mature than I am. That guy does it, man. He is a machine. I mean, on every aspect of it. So, a great example of why did he jump levels so much when he was in college? It was his lifestyle, 100%.
Awesome. Favorite memory as a coach, and we'll narrow it down to Grandview, to being a head coach.
Yeah, that's so hard, when you think about the years and the different things that have happened. But of course, I can definitely remember the first year that we won a title. We have our national duels in January, and then the national tournament is in March. And I remember when we won the national duels in January, actually we won in the semis, and I knew that was gonna be the duel. We were the 3 seed, and the 2 seed they were the next best team for sure. And we won that duel, and I was like, dang man, this is gonna be real, And then it made it real, we can actually get this thing done at the end. And we did. We won that tournament that year. And kind of now, it's not even the memory at the time, but it's looking back on it too. My daughter wasn't even 1 at the time, and so you look back in those times and those memories, and you see the old videos and the pictures, and it's cool to see just how far we've come. Even though we got it done that year, that we can continue that success for a long time. So it's that and there's 100 examples of individual success we've had over the years. I mentioned Evan winning his fourth national championship. Just this past year, we had a kid named Shea Ralfridge in the semis. He beat a guy that he was from Mongolia originally. He had just won his 100th straight match. He was going for his 4th straight national championship. It was like a given to everybody else that he was going to win the championship, and Shea beat him in the semis. And it was a huge win. It was one that, obviously, it's a landmark type of win. So those things stick out, But I can tell you 30 stories like that.
I've seen the video of that one,
yeah.
And you look like a basketball player with your hops on that. Yeah, ups. Yeah, the ups. Yeah, you had the ups. So you talked about starting the program, building a family. Your beautiful wife's here, Michelle. So what is that? And this isn't on the sheet. What does that look like as you've built a dynasty and you've built a family, but you've done it together?
It's evolved. It's hard. It's hard. Being a coach's wife is really hard, and especially now our girls are 12 and 9. Well, they're
going on 17 and 20. Yeah.
But now, it's not like they're easy, but it's not like having a 4 and a 1-year-old, right? And so you think about that time, and of course I'm like, I'll be home at 7, and I get home at 8, and I get home and I'm too dumb to turn my phone off, so I'm talking on the phone when I walk in, and just those things. Or I don't tell her, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you tomorrow I'm leaving to go recruit, and so there's these things that you kind of learn as the coaching side of it over time. And I would say on her end, she's like, now I wouldn't say she's happy if I surprise her on I'm leaving tomorrow, and she's like, you're an idiot, but it's more like, okay, we kind of roll with this a little bit more. And so, but I'm the head coach of Grandview Wrestling. She's definitely the head coach at home. My calendar is like, my phone just lit up a second ago. She probably just put something on my calendar, I'm guessing. So that's what it is all the time. She keeps us on track. There's like 100 times a week when I ask her something, she's like, I told you that. And I'm like, I don't remember clearly. So
it's not on the calendar.
It's not on the calendar. It might be. I just haven't looked at it in the last 5 minutes. So,
right.
But yeah, that's a really tough job being a coach's wife. And and I don't think there's a best way to do it either. I know that some programs are like, the coach's wife is like, these guys on the team are my kids and all this, and I'm like, these kids have moms, so it's not. I don't expect her to be the team mom, but I expect her. Well, I don't expect anything really.
Tread lightly.
I almost had it.
I can get you out of here. I got another question. We can go ahead too.
I just love her so much.
There you go. That was the perfect answer right there. Perfect. We're going to piggyback off that though. On the recruiting side of things, NAIA, obviously different rules, right? They don't have nearly as the stipulations. Oh, look at that. It's a red shirt senior ARP. I tell you what, I don't know about that. That's Nick, you think I can pull that off?
Yeah, it looks natural.
Looks natural? Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Very hairless.
That definitely isn't me. That's not my body. I'm telling you that right now. Anyway, if you can avert your eyes from the screen, there it is. Recruiting.
Yeah.
So does it do it itself? Or is it? And what is it? Are you going to the high schools? Are you getting transfers? Is it a cornucopia of things? What is it?
It is. It's all of it. Our recruiting rules are real similar to most of the NCAA rules, so it's not a lot of difference. I'd say D2, D3, NAI are all really similar when it comes to recruiting, but it never ends. It's nonstop, and you have to be really opportunistic to be a good recruiter.
Sure.
And so now it's the transfer portal. Some of that's good for us, some of it's not so good. There's all of it, but you just you got to roll with it, But if you're going to be good, you better recruit, because I don't care what kind of coach you are. You just pick 10 random people in this room to be on the team, and we're not going to be very good.
Right.
So we got to, well, if I picked the right 10, we'd be real good, but in this room. But there's not, you got to have the talent.
Okay, so what are you looking at? Okay, talent, that's great. But obviously from what you've explained to us with everything, the culture stuff and how you built the program, talent is one thing. And we've seen guys that have talent out of this world and have done absolutely nothing with it. You know guys like that. And then you know guys that don't have, they got talent, but they get the most out of their talent. So when you're going out and you're recruiting somebody, there's guys that are sitting out here that are wrestling. They're going to be wrestling this week. They wrestled yesterday. What are you looking for? What is a 10, 12-time national champion, even at the NAI level? Because to me, a champion's a champion. What are you looking for, guys? And not just on the wrestling mat, but what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, number one, we talk about championship lifestyle when kids visit. We tell them, like, hey, if that's not you, then don't come here. I mean, this isn't like a sales pitch. And I think we recruit a little bit different, and we try to on purpose. We don't really try to talk kids into coming to Grandview. We try to show them, like, this is who we are, and if you like this, then come. If you don't feel like this is the right fit, then you should definitely go somewhere else, because this is what it's going to be. And so that's part of it, is you have to, as much as, most recruits will say, well, I'm trying to find the right fit. We agree. We want it to be the right fit. So you got to be on board with that. So that means you got to love wrestling. And I know that sounds obvious, but we spend more time wrestling than most schools, especially most small schools do. We train pretty much year round. So if you don't want to do that, then don't come to Grandview. If you don't like a challenge, don't come to Grandview. Our room's tough, it's big, we've got a lot of guys. If you want to go to a place where you can just make the lineup, don't come to Grandview. So, I mean, these guys have to be like, they have to go into it knowing, like, this is going to be hard. This is going to be tough, but I want it. That's what I want, is something tough. And then, of course, on my end, you pay attention to these little things, these little intangibles. And some of it is, I like, on the wrestling side, I like to see a guy that's got upside. Maybe a coach tells me, he hasn't really wrestled that long, or, you know what, he played 4 sports. Good. I like that. Because when he comes to college, he's going to play 1. And then we'll find out really how good he can be. These guys that have been training year-round from 1st grade, they've been training at college level for 18 years. I don't know how much better I can make them. You got to have some upside still. And then on the visit, I like to hear, like, can a kid speak for himself? There's a lot of times where you get a mom or a dad that says, well, we went here and we went there and we did this and we were down by 2 and then we got a takedown. And I'm like, man, I can't believe you guys, they let you both wrestle at the same time. And then I'll tell you one that we picked up over the years is for the guys is how do they treat their moms on a visit. And if you'd be surprised, like, it's just these little things, they don't think we pick it up because, high school kids are dumb sometimes. College kids are too, so I'm not picking on you guys, but it's that little thing where his mom says something and he's like, Mom, shut up, or something like that. And like, oh, this kid's, it's not gonna work. You can just tell, because if he's like that in public, what's it like in private? So it's these little things that you pick up over the years that you find out about somebody.
That's awesome. That's a great answer, because my mom sits on a pedestal and she's 75 years old and she lives in South Dakota and I'm the youngest of 5. And if anybody were to talk bad about my mom, we'd have a problem. So that answer is great. So you guys that are sitting out here, well, all of you guys that are sitting out here, not just the young ones, make sure you communicate with your mothers. It's always a good thing. So you talked about the youth stuff, Nick, and in the world that we live in, I was glad to hear you just say, hey, I like the guys that play the 3, the 4 sports. We had Nate Boock up here that said he did all the things in high school. You probably played a lot of sports in high school, same with me. Youth wrestling programs, because we've got our guys here. And I know a lot of those guys coach multiple sports. I know sitting at that table, they don't just coach wrestling. It's baseball, it's basketball, it's flag football, and it's wrestling. But as far as a youth program goes, what's the significance of that, do you feel like? Can you speak to that?
Yes, it's tricky because here's the thing. Now my daughters are 7th grade and 4th grade. And so, of course, we see it. I live in Ankeny, and so, every kid's already getting like year-round personal training from some pro coach. But it's this thing as a parent where the hardest thing is to see your kid maybe start to fall behind a little bit, right? Or to see him like fail, of course, you know, because we feel like it's a reflection on us. But failure is good. There are a lot of things, positive things come out of failure. We teach them how to deal with it the right way. But I think at the same time, so when I say that, so what happens is, okay, so my daughter plays softball. I think there's only one other girl on her softball team that plays other sports. And my daughter plays 2 or 3 other sports. And so she's definitely not the best. She might not be, because look at her parents, we're both like 4 foot tall. So it might not work out for her. But at the same time, it's I want her to find her thing. You know, I want her to figure it out, because for some of those girls, they quit softball, then what? That's all they have. That's all they have left. And so and then I was talking to somebody the other day. I heard about a kid that he's in 8th grade. He's a really good wrestler, but he's got to have shoulder surgery. And sometimes those things happen. But when I was growing up, I didn't know anybody in junior high, or really hardly high school, that had to have surgery because of an overuse injury. Okay, so we have to make sure, like, yeah, I'm okay with like being dialed into your sport year round, and but let's plan our breaks. Let's play some other sports. Let's do some other things. I mean, Ross, I know he was a pretty good wrestler. I think he was a pretty average baseball player too, so decent. So you know what I'm saying though? Like, play some other. Now, okay, Ross is a freak. I shouldn't use him as an example. He's a big guy, but you know what I'm saying? It's just like it's okay to do other things. It's okay to have some time off. It's okay to actually pull back on them a little bit. You know, when they're like, I want to go this weekend. Maybe just, hey, let's take this weekend off. And that's hard to do, because we want to feed it and we want to do it right. But I think we gotta keep it in its place, and youth sports should be below probably about 6 other things.
Very well said. Okay. So we watched Matt, we can't get the video up, I don't think, but we might be able to try, but you guys had a duel against Iowa State. I don't know, it was like 11 years ago, and there's a clip on the internet of you, you guys had some success. This is just the scramble, I think. This is against, is this up in Humboldt?
Yeah, last year.
This was last year. This was like the most unbelievable scramble, right? This was basically like its own order at Denny's. It was like eggs, but walk us through this. Talk us through this right now. We'll come back to the other one.
Yeah, so our guy Gio, he's in the black there. Both those guys are really good scramblers. I can't remember who was in on the shot first, but Gio's there's about 3 times where you think the other guy's going to score here. They kind of playing this outside ankle game. Gio's sitting right here. I'm like, yep, he's going to score. No, Kreiser comes. Gio's back up again. He hooks. Kreiser sits again. They can go through this 4 times. So right about here, I think we're in trouble because they have a danger rule. He's almost on his back. Gio turns around. Switches up again.
Coach Mitchell.
Yeah.
Coach Dresser said that's like throwing 2 cats in a dryer.
It was, for sure. I love to watch these guys wrestle like 10 times.
It's like throwing 2 cats in a dryer.
But yeah, he pops his hips up. I think he's going to score.
And that's Reedy there.
Yep.
Reedy's.
We're in trouble, and then he pops up again. Oh.
And then the feed dies. This is technologies. We're not our strong suit here at Play right now. But anyway, there's a clip of you talking to your guys after a duel. I think it was at Iowa State, like 11 years ago. It was maybe 10, 11 years ago?
2014.
2014, okay, so 9 years ago, essentially. And some of the guys did really well, but the message that night was, hey, be proud of your individual, but you just didn't come here to show up. You came here to win, right? And so with that, how do you, and this is something that I think you probably thought about, and I think every white-blooded male for sure, and probably female that lives in America, how do you avoid complacency? Because it's kind of like the death of us a little bit as a society, is being complacent in where you're at, what you're doing, and whatever. But how do you, as a guy that's won, 10, 11 national championships, you can get pretty complacent. You go, we're pretty good. We're just, our stuff doesn't stink and we don't have to do much to get any better. How do you avoid complacency? And how do you get your guys to avoid complacency?
Yeah, first, I guess some of that is hopefully just, it's in you. It's who you are, right? I mean, just, as, like you said, as a human, like, just not really wanting to settle to, it is right now, today, the best version that I'm ever going to be right now. I hope not. You know, I know Rochelle's like, it better not be. But, you know, it's that whole thing. And so on the wrestling side of it, it's, well, the next thing is always what's most important. And I'm not even talking about the next championship. It's, we have a week on Saturday of next weekend, we wrestle 2 duels. That's the most important thing of our whole season because it's the very next thing. And so that's the part I love about coaching is it's just always back to work, always trying to like find out how good you can be. And for me personally, I don't know, you know, I love, like, you know, when you read something or you listen to a podcast or you watch a documentary or you learn something and it like strikes a chord, that feeling of like, oh yeah, like this, I'm onto something here. You know, I talk about like, when I learned that concept of just doing it anyway, like that was life-changing. Like that was the little, I mean, can you imagine the words "do it anyway" changed the trajectory of my life? Like, why wouldn't I keep seeking things like that out all the time? Why wouldn't I just go try to find these? And it's so easy now. I mean, you know, I make fun of my guys because, you know, they're like, oh, I don't like to read. You know, I heard this thing before. It's like, well, people who don't read have no advantage over people who can't read. Right? Well, now you don't even have to read. Just pull up the internet and watch a video. It's everywhere. You know, like, it's just, there's so much access to you know, terrible stuff, but so much access to great stuff. And so just that idea of like trying to evolve and be better all the time, I just can't imagine like not wanting to do that. So that's where that comes from to me. And so, and if I'm going to coach, I want to win. I want to win. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to win. It doesn't have to be the most important thing, but it better be one of the things for sure.
Absolutely. Why you're doing it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, as long as everybody has fun, right? That's, I don't know if you go to many wrestling matches or meets or anything like that, but
losing isn't fun.
No, losing isn't fun at anything, regardless.
Especially wrestling.
I got an 8-year-old that beat me at a game of Sorry the other night. We played for 45 minutes, and he got me, and he celebrated like he just won a national championship. But anyway, what's next? Is there something next? Is there opportunities? Has there ever been talked about? I'm asking you really hard questions. This was not on the questions that we sent you, by the way. If something like that presented itself, would you listen?
Well, of course you're always going to listen, right? I mean, that's such a coaching line. Be like, no, you know, I'll never leave, but you're going to listen. But here's the thing: is I'm in a great situation. You know, I'm in a place where I have great administrative support. I've got a great coaching staff. We just bought a house a couple of years ago.
Got terrible neighbors.
Got some average neighbors at best. But so like, here's the thing. I think is like, you know, people have asked me that a lot, and of course there's opportunities and things that have popped up over the years. But if you get pulled away by the, well, I want to coach Division I, or of course money. You know, I'm not going to say money's not important, but if you get lured away by these things, that doesn't always mean life is going to be better. You know, and so really to me, I'm always trying to find the whole package. And we've got such a great situation right now. We love where our girls go to school. Again, they do a bunch of sports. You know, we've got a really good situation. So I can't imagine there being a better situation than what we have right now.
God, that was great. That was a great answer. That was politically correct, and it was you avoided it all at the same time while really answering it. That was terrific, and I thought that was a great question by me. But you just did the old two-step. So congratulations on that. Before we get to 2 truths and a lie, because that's what everybody came here for, I did notice a couple things that you've got your resume up here. We're hoping that bottom one can really get in bold print, the 2023 attended the Flyby Show. We would like to move that up the list if we could, so when somebody Google searches you, that one comes up. But those accolades are amazing, man. They truly are. And listening to you speak, and I know that you've taken time out of your weekend and your evening, and we're really, I'm glad. I reached out to you because I know your neighbors, and we've hung out, played some golf, and you were gracious enough to come up here. And you've given us a ton of nuggets. You've given us things to think about, and any great coach, any great motivator, that's what we want. Give us a nugget right now. That one thing that not only these high school kids that are sitting here that can walk out of here with, but we as adults that are just trying to live every day as the world gets crazier and crazier. What's something you can give us and say, either we're all going to hell in a handbasket or we're all going to be better. But give us something. Give us something Nick Mitchell motivational that gets us to click.
You used all my material already.
You got something else. I know. There's something in there.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. I mean, priorities are so important. And to me, my first priority is my faith. And if that's important to you, then build your life around that. And if it's not, then look into it.
Another PC answer, right?
And number two, priorities is it's my faith and it's my family, and there's a priority list there, and it's Rochelle, and then my girls, and the rest of my crazy relatives. But this is the thing is, to me, is just don't wait. Like how many times do we say like, I need to do that, or I need to get this done? What are you waiting for? Just do the things that you know you need to do. And I told the guys a story about this the other day. And it's this whole idea of like, be hard on yourself without beating yourself up, right? Isn't that like a fine line we walk all the time? It's like, be hard on yourself but without beating yourself up. And there's this quick story of this guy. His name is Jim Stockdale. He was a prisoner of war. And they tell the story when he was a POW. There's all these other POWs with him, and they had like this fake optimism. They're like, oh, we're gonna be out by Christmas. We're gonna be out by Christmas. And then Christmas would come, they wouldn't be out. They're like, okay, Easter, we'll be out by Easter. And then they would come, they wouldn't get out, and these people, they shattered after a while because they weren't honest with themselves. Where he was like, you know what? There's a good chance we're never gonna get out of here. That's a real thing. That might not ever happen. But while we're here, I'm going to make the most of this situation. I'm going to do everything I can to make my current situation better. And so the paradox is, what's the brutal honesty about where we are right now? Okay, and it starts personal, not where you are and you and everybody else around me that I can point fingers at. But what's the brutal facts about my current situation? What do I need to work on? What do I need to do? Stop waiting, get to work on it, but then have faith that it's going to work. It's going to work out. Good things are ahead. Positive things are ahead. Not just because it's just going to happen, but because I'm willing to do the work. And man, if we have some people, like you start with your small world, your family, your community here, the people in this room, and that expands because things like this are exponential. Can you imagine what a difference things would look like if people started talking like that? Accountability. Yeah, things are going to be better for me because I'm going to do the work. Things are going to be better for us because I'm going to do the work. And then all of a sudden, it spreads. Now, that's the people I want to hang out with. Those are the type of people I want to be around. So that's my advice, man. It's brutal honesty, but faith, yes, 100%. It'll work out. But not just because good things are, I'm not going to just speak it into existence because I'm going to freaking work my ass off. That's why.
Awesome. Awesome. That was what we wanted. You give a round of applause for that. That was what we were looking for. That's why we bought the tickets and paid the big bucks. So, but now, 2 truths in a line, Nick. 2 truths in a line. They better be good ones because we've had some good ones tonight.
All right. They're not that good, but I try to have my daughters help me with terrible. All right, I got 3 things for you.
Okay.
These are very, they're just simple, but I'll give them to you.
Yep.
So, my college, my summer job in college, I worked at an electric company pulling wire called Tetro Electric. My freshman year of college, I failed public speaking. And then my very first job after college is I was a 6th grade teacher.
These are super lame, by the way, but anyway. Yeah. Don't tell your daughters I said that because they're lovely. I've met them. So who thinks that he was an electrician? Or who thinks that one's the lie? Or not an electrician, but worked in an electrical company? Okay. Who thinks that he failed public speaking? I think there's some inside information here because we do have some Wartburg guys in the crowd. And then he was a 6th grade teacher. What's the lie? Nick?
The lie is that I did not work for Tetro Electric.
You did not. So you didn't?
So,
an electrician.
I gotta tell you real quick. So I did work. I was a 6th grade teacher. That was my first job. I did that for 3 years, which I loved. If I wasn't coaching, I'd definitely be teaching. I did fail public speaking.
Why?
I brought my old training partner, Rob Budd. We used to call him the Russian Bear. I mentioned that Ross was tough. Dude, Ross is definitely the second toughest guy in the room right now. Rob Budd is the Wartburg guy. But,
the Russian Bear.
Yeah, the Russian Bear. He knows about my. So freshman year, you got to remember, I was 4th in JV conference. Of course, I would have failed public speaking because I was a lazy freaking dumbass.
Well, there was nobody wanting to talk to you getting 4th in the JV conference meet either.
There might have been a lack of showing up to class. I retook it. I did better. I got an A the second time. I had to grow up a little bit. And the reason I picked the electric thing was because today, so I bought one of those like doorbell cam things, you know?
Yeah, a ring doorbell?
Yeah, mine's an Arlo.
Okay,
yeah, we got
that.
Like the,
yep.
You know,
okay.
But I couldn't even figure out which fuse turned it off on my breaker today. I tried. It was the sump pump. I mean, somebody probably here knows that, but it was like I had to text the guy that did electric work for me, and so I was like, well, I should probably tell a lie about that because I'm so dumb. I can't even get the breaker turned off to that fuse.
Well, Nick, I think I can speak for all of us. You've come a heck of a long ways as a wrestler, probably for one, but as a wrestling coach, and a hell of a long ways as a public speaker. So I'm sure that you're professionally proud, and I know those are and again, we can't thank you enough. We thank the wrestling family, and we appreciate the high school coaches coming in. Folks came here to listen to you, man, and we appreciate you. We want you to come back up, see some wrestling meets, have some burgers, play some golf, whatever, hang out. But
I'll be back for sure.
Nick, we appreciate you, man. Another round of applause for the great guys. Appreciate it. And Nick, are you gonna hang around for a little bit? Yeah, he's gonna hang around. So if you want to talk to him here a little bit, we got just a couple more things. Brock's gonna join me, but man, that was fun, Nick. That was awesome. I can't believe you failed public speaking. Wow, I was like ready to run through a wall for you. Hey, before we get going here, folks, we just got, want to say a few more thank yous to our sponsored tables here. R. Peterson Construction, Schmidt Youngblood Construction, Hedrick Construction. So guys, if you can just bear with us here, and we'll get through this. But we do have a couple of announcements moving forward here. We will have a show on January 7th. We will have another show on January 7th here. I don't know if we can get that on the screen.
As you can see, with former Ballard athlete Sam Peterson, along with
former Ankeny Hawk and fellow Hawkeye
Brody Brett. They're going to be here. I think we're going to do it a little differently than we usually do. We're going to actually open it up to you guys if you guys want to ask questions about their experiences participating in the Division I level of college athletics. And as you can see, food, and there will also be an autograph session included.
And the QR code, you can go ahead and you can scan that. This is basically, you have access to it right now where nobody else does. So if you want to share this out, we've got some sponsorships, but these are 2 top 150 players in the country that'll be coming here, and Sam being a local guy and Brody right down the road. Pretty sure they'll be playing Major League Baseball down the road, at least we hope. So that'll be a fun show for January 7th coming up here, so get that on your calendars if you can.
Thank you to everybody that bought a table. Thank you to the Booster Club in the back that have been our celebrity bartenders. Reminder, all your tips go towards the Ballard Network that helps us support to be able to do things like this, as well as improve our live streams on our broadcast.
Yeah, and again, a shout out to Flight Bar and Grill and the lounge here for allowing us to do this. And again, thank you guys for showing out. You can stick around. I think we'll probably put the Sunday night football game on. The screen's here. Nick's gonna hang out, but the bar's still open. Hang out. But anyway, thank you again for coming. That'll do it. Thanks, guys.